Glad to have you back. It's still Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go straight into our discussion. And indeed, we are looking at the issue of subsidy and the alternatives that is available for Nigerians. Of course, if you've been following the program, the World Bank has indeed said that e-vehicles is becoming unattractive to Nigerians, apparently due to the high cost of that. So we'll look at that on the show today. And I have joining me right here in the studio, Kingsley is a co-founder and of course CEO, Nairazi. Glad to have you on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, as a businessman, let's start from there. What does the subsidy removal means to you?
For our line of business, obviously, it's a bittersweet experience. Bitter in the fact that the cost of energy goes up. And for example, if you work with a 40-seater bus, you still have 40-seater bus, but you're now spending extra to fuel the vehicle. So the cost of energy is the number one. And the number two is, obviously, you would want to translate that price to the end consumer because you are out to make a profit.
Absolutely.
So when you translate that price, obviously, you see customers grumble about the high cost of transportation. So it's just a bittersweet experience. That's how I would describe it.
So, indeed. So what would you have to say concerning the statement from the World Bank that the e-vehicles is becoming unattractive because of subsidy removal? That is the online of business as well.
Yeah, sure. Like an electric vehicle?
Electronic vehicles.
Yeah, electric vehicle at the moment, obviously the high cost of making that purchase the first time, because it's
I think the World Bank is actually looking at some of the vehicles that you have to book on your phone. And
okay, you mean like the ride share,
exactly.
The ride e-hailing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, e-hailing apps, because of that line of business, like I said, the price of booking a seat on any of these vehicles goes up. So when you raise the prices, obviously it becomes unattractive to the end consumer to make payments for it. So obviously, like I said, it's the price. The price is the issue. Cost of energy goes up. The cost of transportation goes up. And, the purchasing parity of the population is still the same. So it goes down. So when you have all this mixture of experience, you have a very unattractive e-hailing market. Yes.
No, indeed. Now there is a general consensus that subsidy is a scam, that it has to go, but that it benefits just a few, as we're told. But let's look at it holistically now. Do you really think Nigerians, because when subsidy was removed, as at the time we were enjoying subsidy, the cost of petrol was less than 200 naira.
Yeah, sure.
Now it's over 500 naira, and it's even projected to go further. Now, do you think indeed subsidy benefit a few?
Anyway, I'm not an NPC. They are in the best position to know whether it's a scam or not. But obviously, what you need to know is subsidy benefits a few players in the industry. That's obvious to everybody, and whether it's a scam or not, I think is left for the appropriate authorities to investigate who actually received the payment for these subsidies that are making unwarranted expressions that you don't have anything to back it up. So I feel there is a room for further investigation to know who received the subsidy payments and all the modalities. Yeah.
I also understand that you are actually trying to make some interventions in the sector as well. Can you tell us more about it?
Okay, Nairazi, to talk more about our business, we're a mobility platform. We sell mobility as a service. So you have ride-share business. You can book taxis on our app. Then we also have the mass transit business, where you have buses that can take high capacity, lot of passengers, up to like 70 to 100 from point A to point B. And our operation is domiciled here in FCT. And we also have technical solutions that we offer state government, federal government, to make mass transit more accessible, more profitable. Because we've seen the issue of government making investment in the public transport industry, and at the end, you buy 1,000 buses or 100 buses, after like 2 months, you start seeing 50s working. After another 1 year, it's only two that is working. So we believe that there are a lot of factors that play into these failures that we've experienced. So we came up with a solution about, helping you collect your fares. You have the fare collection system, you have the passenger count system, you have the cloud video monitoring system to help people make public transit affordable and accessible and profitable.
Okay, as a businessman now, what would you advise the federal government to do? Like you rightly pointed out, government is finding it difficult to manage businesses. So what would you advise the government to do in this regard? Because if you look at over there, I could record the Aerofly's buses, and of course, if you go to Lagos and so many of those big buses, but at the end of the day, the management of some of these buses ended up not really performing optimally. So what would you advise the government to do in this regard? Engage some private sectors?
Yeah, obviously that has been the gospel we've been championing. Personally, we call for a public-private partnership, hand in glove, hand in hand. Government can come in with the buses, but find a way to outsource the different strata of management of a public transit system. If you go to advanced societies, the fare collection is already a lot of tax, making sure that there's no fare leakages, driver management, routing system, and also find a way to leverage technology to make most of these aspects very efficient. So I feel like if you have that collaboration between the government and the private sector, you will see a lot of improvement and success in this kind of industry.
Now, interesting. Let's still revisit the World Bank reports.
Yeah.
Now, they are actually saying that Nigerians can no longer afford to use some of the e-ride like we used to. You can be in your house and of course order a ride, and of course it takes you to wherever you are going to. Now that is gradually changing. People are actually looking at the cheaper way to move around. Yeah. Now, as somebody who is directly into the business, to what extent would this impact your business?
Obviously, like I said, it's not been a very great experience because the cost of energy, you have to still make it back. That's why we are also looking at the way that government can step in terms of giving palliative through programs that are, you have key performance indices. For example, the number of rides that is booked on our platform, you can pay operators to keep their price at a certain level, just like the way London bus service operates, is 30% subsidized. So if you make like, weekly you spend £100, just know that the government actually paid £30 behind the scenes to keep the price at that level. So when cost of energy goes up, somebody has to pay for it and the system has to run. So if it is unaffordable at the moment, and once you are booking a ride, you're seeing that you got 30% off, courtesy of, so it becomes, dividends of the fuel subsidy removal, and you can track it. It's no more like generic while subsidizing fuel. So you will spend less and you have better
services.
Yeah, services.
Oh, okay. So to what extent can we actually learn from some of these things or try to even replicate them here?
You have players. For example, our company Unattractive, we've been in this space, and we've been engaging state government and federal government, and I know a couple of our engagements has been fruitful and is work in progress. And I'm sure that the current National Executive Council, they're also working out, palliative programs. And I know there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I'm sure.
Now, what advice will you have for some of your riders? Some riders, rather, some are actually thinking of going the way of electric vehicle. Some are looking at CNG, option. Yeah. So what advice would you have for them? Is it the right way to go, or would this in any way make the demand for fuel crash at the end of the day?
For alternative fuel, I would, obviously there's room for Nigeria to adopt, or drivers to think of alternative fuel like CNG. For me personally, I would see CNG as the low-hanging fruit because Nigeria has abundant LPG, CNG, and all the rest. But what we lack is the infrastructure to distribute it. It's not everywhere you can see CNG. It's just a few selected fuel stations that help you with that. Now, the second barrier is the cost of conversion, which is, having like, technical know-how of companies that can do it safely, because this is gas, it can blow up. You've seen lots of videos where CNG, so it can be very extremely dangerous to handle. So you also need like a framework to make sure that there are companies that are well suited for CNG conversion. For electrification, I would personally tell you that Nigeria is not yet ready for electrification of our transit system. Maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line. Because America, they are still struggling with having enough charging infrastructure. Talk more of Nigeria that we're battling with 4,000 megawatts
Indeed,
of electricity.
We'll have this discussion again another day. Kingsley Eze, co-founder and CEO, Naira's. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
time.
Thank
you for having me.
Yeah, with that is a wrap on Business Daily today. Join us tomorrow for more. I am Yusuf Akogun.